All right, welcome to the Spoiler Kings. My name is St. Kramer, and with Brian the Grizzly, Brandman Brandon, and we are going to do our movie review of Peter Pan and Wendy, streaming now on Disney Plus. Um, so, do we need a synopsis for a movie, a story that's older than all of us?
I mean,
Like,
but there hasn't been that many of them. I mean, literally, I looked it up. It's only been 152 Peter Pans. It's crazy. I don't know. So
yeah,
maybe we don't know exactly how it's going to go.
yeah. I mean, this one keeps more to the traditional Peter Pan story rather than something like Hook. Hook is
Yeah.
kind of a little bit different. So this is it keeps the traditional Peter Pan. Yeah. So I don't think we need a synopsis if you don't
I'm
know what
going
Peter
to
Pan
read it
is.
anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Get you guys.
Go for it, man.
Synopsis. Wendy Darling, a young girl looking to avoid boarding school, meets Peter Pan, a boy who refuses to grow up. Wendy and her brothers and Tinkerbell travel with Peter to the magical world of Neverland, where she encounters an evil pirate captain. Dun, dun, dun. That's it.
Yeah. So, so yeah, we'll get into the good stuff. Then we'll get into some of our dislikes, and then we'll end it with our review or our rating, and then with some Rotten Tomatoes as well. So we'll start with some of the good stuff. What you guys liked about this movie? Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Brandon.
You want to go for it?
Like the cinematography. I like the way that it was shot, especially like the Neverland landscapes. I thought that it was pretty well acted. Jude Law obviously is good in pretty much everything he's in. I thought the kid actors did a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it wasn't necessarily, and I know that I was talking about this earlier with Disney remakes. It wasn't just a shot for shot remake of the original. They did add a couple new elements to it. Excuse me, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say those were my main things that really stuck out for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I like the idea of like she was morally like she's developing, and you see her as a preteen, as a kid trying to become this preteen, and you see her like trying to decide, am I going to be a kid or am I going to grow up a little bit? And seeing that development, in kids, I see it in my children all the time. I thought I enjoyed that because she's emotional. It's morality. It's how to be a kid but not to lose your imagination. You don't want to lose that part of yourself, but still being able to grow up to understand that you need both parts. I thought that was kind of the main theme that was that you can grow up and enjoy the path of growing up, along with still holding on to some of your kidness and your imagination and having both of them. So I thought that was pretty cool. I like that they had boys and girls as the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
I like the fact that how they kind of shaped Hook and Peter Pan like as best friends.
Yeah.
And it shows Peter Pan is really the villain. Peter Pan's the villain, guys. Know that. That's the truth. He's the boogeyman.
My girlfriend's been saying that for years. Like, oh, he's the real villain of the story.
He's the boogeyman. He comes at nighttime and takes the kids off to this wonderful world where they get to not eat, not have clothes on, and they don't take care of him. He's like a deadbeat dad. He's terrible. He's the worst.
Yeah.
They fight pirates. He's out playing around. He's the worst. But I enjoy that they showed it that way though.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Tinkerbell thing was kind of cool too. So those are the things I enjoyed about the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the casting I thought was pretty on point. Jude Law as Hook, like, looked great, and I was worried, like, is it going to be bad? I thought he really knocked that out of the park. Like, he played Hook really, really well. Yeah. But even like Jim Gaffigan as Mr. Smee, like, I enjoyed that. Like, he was just the dude looks like Mr. Smee in real life anyway. So there's like, here's some pirate clothes. you know. So
He said,
I enjoyed that.
No need. I got them in my closet.
Yeah. The one that threw me off was Alan Tudyk. You know, was the dad, was Mr. Darling. And at
Oh my
first,
god! It was
when
I thought it was a joke.
when at first I'm like, is that Alan Tudyk?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what? You know, and then then the second time he came on screen, I'm like, holy shit, it is. You know, so I thought it was kind of like funny. But I mean, so many people obviously lost their mind because of Tinkerbell. You know, they race swapped Tinkerbell, and I thought she did great. What was her name? Probably,
Yara
there you go. Thank you. So I don't have to murder her.
I love her from Blackish and Grownish. I love her.
Mm-hmm. I thought she did great. I thought she looked the part. I thought she was really good. You know, in the green dress. You know, and the wings in the background. I thought it was great. You know, so I was cool with her. And then even the kids. The only one. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it. But I didn't mind Alexander Maloney was Peter Pan.
Yeah.
But there was times I liked him and there's times I didn't like him. So he's kind of like an in between kind of because there's times I'm like, oh, that's very much like a Peter Pan thing, and then he does other things. I'm like, oh, you're annoying, and it's not. It wasn't the character, you know. I don't know if it was like his voice. Maybe it sounds mean, you know, but you know, he was a kind of like flip flop for me. But yeah, I thought the characters were great, the actors were great, the cinematography was most of the time pretty good. I had some issues with that, which I'll talk about soon. But yeah, like you said, the Brian, though, that was my biggest thing, is like they didn't steer away from telling that Peter Pan isn't the best kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like I think when you're younger, you have those like, you know, member berries kind of run into your head. They're like, oh yeah, Peter Pan's a badass. He like lets you play all the time, and you're like, oh no, he's kind of an a-hole. You know,
Takes kids out from their room in the middle of the night. Don't leave notes. At least when Hook did it, he left a note. Peter Pan just does it. Just takes the kids and you don't feed them. Don't let them get. There's no way back. There's nothing. It's just nothing.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, that my favorite part of the movie though was the connection of Captain Hook and Peter Pan, like their backstory and their relationship. Really, you know, I thought was really, really interesting. You know, and to me, that was all Jude Law too. You know, at the end, they have their big moment of figuring each other out, and I thought Peter Pan's actor did a good job, but that moment was sold because of Jude Law. Like Jude Law was like, oh damn, okay, you know, you get the emotion behind that whole thing. So yeah, Jude Law really crushed it for me. Any other good things before we move on to some of the bads, the dislikes? No?
Nope.
Got nothing? Got nothing? All right. What you got, Brandon, for some of the dislikes? What didn't you like about this movie?
Even though I've watched this several times, it was hard to entirely get a read on it because I still can't decide if I liked the movie or not. Like I said, there were elements of it that I definitely did like, but after the first time I watched it, like I said, I went back later and rewatched it, and just there were parts of it that were just really kind of meh for me for the most part. It like just kind of watching it, I didn't get like it didn't have like a wow factor to me.
Yeah.
Or anything that really kind of blew me out of the water. And I guess you could kind of say that's the director's style. David Lowery, he did he did one of the other remakes that from Disney that I actually liked, which was Pete's Dragon. He did that. He also did
the Green Knight.
The Green Knight.
Which I don't like at all. And I love King Arthur's stories.
Yeah, he's a very kind of nuanced, like kind of subtle director, and he was especially subtle here. But it was so subtle to the point where a lot of it kind of felt flat. Yeah, that's my thing, you know, and and it was so flat that, like I said, I can't get a read on it. I can't decide. I can't say that if I liked it or not, because still to this day I can't decide. I was
Yeah.
It just kind of left me like with a very blank feeling when it ended both times.
Yeah, man, that's probably the best for it's kind of for me too. It's like blank, like it ended and you're like, okay, like I don't know, but what you got, Brian? What didn't you like about it?
I didn't like. I felt like the child acting wasn't very equal. Like it was very all over the place. There's some really good ones and some that were like terrible. And like you could have done a better. You say the casting was good. I think the casting was uneven. Like, was it Ever Anderson? I could see her as Wendy, but Alexander Maloney, I didn't like him that much as Peter Pan. I didn't like it. Just none of it was made perfect sense. Like they didn't seem like they deserved to be on the screen together. Like one who's a little bit more polished than the other. Like there's some people like Yara Shahidi, like she didn't have any speaking parts, but you could tell her acting ability was coming through the screen the entire time. I could understand it. And then there are other people that are talking the entire time, and I'm like, I don't believe anything that you're saying. And then the Tiger Lily thing was they could explain. They could have done more with that. They didn't. They didn't explain crap. Why she call him her little brother? Like they could have done more with it, and they just didn't. And it's I think it just was not put together as well as it should have been. It could have been better put together. But it's a Disney Plus movie, so I give it that.
Yeah, which I wonder if that's what they saw the movie. They're like, shit. Well, we can't undo the entire movie, so let's put it on Disney Plus and make that like, oh look, hey, be a member, you get a movie, But I think Disney Plus is the better option because I think they would have lost a lot of money. I mean, they might have still lost a lot of money too, but I don't know if people are hitting the subscribe button on Disney Plus just for this. Maybe a few people, but I can't see that many people. But yeah, being the acting being uneven, like you said, was probably because like I said, the ending part where Peter Pan and Hook are talking, that was all Hook, that was all Jude Law. Being a great actor that he is, versus this kid who I never heard of. I don't even know what he's been in, but
it's not like just because you're a kid, you can't be with great actors too. So like,
yeah,
there are a lot of things that we've seen, where these brand new actors are just have the chops, they have the character, they're able to hold their own with these great people around them.
Yeah.
It just wasn't it here. It wasn't. He just seemed out of place.
Yeah. But you say there were times where he was like good, like I don't know if he focused more of his effort on certain parts, but then there's other times where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're a kid that doesn't have that much acting experience, So I don't no trash talking the actor himself, but he's young, like you said, you're putting somebody this is probably like one of their first major film next to Jude Law. I was like, what? Like that's insane, So
here's my explanation. Like in Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter, we're putting these brand new kids up with these unbelievable, like some of the greatest British actors of all time, right? But they were able to hold their own. It was well thought out. They were strong enough to do that. It seems like he was almost out of place when you have these great actors there too.
Yeah.
So and just maybe he just wasn't ready, or you had to have other actors like him to bring more out of him. But
it could have been the director too. Like the director, you got to be able to make your actors kind of pull the performance sometimes out of them, and with a newer actor, sometimes you need to do that. So, and then obviously, this director, like Brandon says, sometimes he plays very flat, like the Green Knight. For me, I was super hyped for the Green Knight. I was so hyped for it, and I watched it and I was angry because I was like, this is one of the coolest, Arthur stories, and I hate it, So, but like hopefully, he gets better and stuff like that. But I mean, also one thing for me too was like it was very like not boring, but flat. But then there was times where you're like, oh, it's trying to be cartoony, like when the crocodile first tries to get Captain Hook, and he's on the head and then he jumps up and now he's like, doing the split on his mouth. It was like, oh, okay, it's trying to be goofy too, but there just wasn't enough of that, and I think you needed more of that Disney in this, and this was too serious and too a little dark at times, and it's literally dark at times. There was parts in this movie where I'm like, is it my TV?
What's going on? Yeah.
Or is it how it's shot like that? Where they're in the cave or wherever the Lost Boys hide out. I'm like, it was so dark. I'm like, what's going on? So yeah. So it actually being, dark in the the setting of it, but also dark in like some of the scenes, like what's going on. But then it cuts to like the picture of like on the skull island, Skull Rock or whatever, and that was cool. The ship floating in the sky looked amazing. So I was like, how do you have some of these cool shots, and then you go into like the hideout and you could barely make out their faces, So it was a little frustrating with that as well, with amazing shots and then super dark shots. I was like, what are we doing? But yeah, it just, like you said, it just kind of came out and I was just like blank, not sure how to feel about this, because there were parts that I did like and some of the performances I really liked, and then like the whole Tiger Lily part, I was like, what's going on? Like I don't get it, So yeah, I don't know about that, but also like they didn't focus enough on the Lost Boys. The Lost Boys are a big part of the Peter Pan story. And even in this movie, they tell you like, oh, it's important to have your friends, blah, 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 this and that. It was like, and none of it focuses on the Lost Boys. Like, what are you talking about?
Gloss over that whole thing.
Yeah. And I know maybe it's just me being, a boomer at this point, but it's hard for me not to compare a Peter Pan movie to Hook. Because to me, Hook, maybe it's because of my childhood or whatever, but the Hook had such a great story, and the Lost Boys were important. Captain Hook was important. Shmi was important. Like all the characters were important to the story. Where this was just Wendy, Hook, and Peter. No one else mattered. In the
middle of the movie, I just wanted to go Rufio.
I know it would go like this, like
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but anything else, guys, before we get into the ratings? Good or bad? Anything we forgot?
Like I said, I'm still not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm legitimately. Usually, it's kind of easy for me to kind of make formulate a decision about a movie, but I still can't decide if I liked it or not, even after several watches.
Yeah, I totally understand. So it's gonna be interesting.
I know what to rate.
You know what
I
you're.
got it.
All right, so let's move on to the ratings. So here at Spoiler Kings, we do things a little simple, nice and easy. Now, later, never. Now means you gotta check it out right now. It's worth it. Don't get spoiled. Later means you can wait till you have some free time and throw it on in the background. And never means just skip it. It is not worth your time at all. So Brian, since you sound so sure, we'll start with you, and then Brandon, then I'll go. What you got, Brian? What you rating it?
It's a later. This is a later. This is not anything you have to watch right now. It's something that you watch while you're doing something. So if you're cooking or if you're cleaning or you're doing homework, it's something that you can put on during that, because you don't have to pay too much attention to it, because you know the story. As I said, there's 152 different versions of it. There's some problems with it, but if you're not paying attention to it for like the movie, the cinema aspect of it, then you'll get past it. So like literally, this is a later. This is when you doing something and you need something else like white noise to be on. I might watch it tonight, to go to sleep. It'll just be background noise. It's what it is. It's a background noise movie. It's a later.
Yeah. All right. You know what you got, Brandon? Or are you gonna wait?
I'd have to agree and say later. Like I said, I didn't like it enough to give it a now, and I didn't dislike it enough to give it a never. So really, you could use it as you know, like it's very much a background noise type movie. It might have trouble hooking you in, so yeah, you could use it as background noise or like as ASMR when you're trying to sleep. I'm probably going to use it as ASMR tonight when I go to sleep.
With it. Yeah.
You know, yeah. So I'd give it a later. You know.
Yeah. And I'm right there with you guys too. It's definitely not now by any means. You know, it was really kind of riding the line for a never at certain points. You know, but visually I would give it, so like watching now, because I thought visually it looked really cool for most of the movie. Yeah, so I would give it a later. You know, like I said, throw it on. You could be doing the dishes, you know, and have it on and look up every so often and like, oh, hey, that's cool, that's going on.
Yeah,
you know,
it won't feel
cool
like
fight.
you missed out on something.
Yeah. So yeah, but the Rotten Tomato score, whoo, man. So the tomato meter, which is the critics, 106 reviews from the critics, 67%. So I'm like, okay, I got it. The audience, there's over 2,500 ratings, 18%.
Wow.
18%. So the way, you know, Brandon, how you feel, I think a lot of the audience feels exactly the same, because they are not liking it at all. Like it's bad. It's bad.
I wonder, like, how much it has to do with actually telling the story, and how much it has to do with, you know, they're just different characters, and you know they race swapped some characters. It's just different. So I wonder how that would affected the low score.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm not seeing anybody, like a lot of the ones I'm looking at right now. It's not because of like the race swap or anything. They're just like they tried too hard. You know, somebody's like it was flat. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. You know, boring. You know, just not entertaining. You know, so yeah, it's just somebody said terrible. This is not Peter Pan. I mean, he needed to be more over the top. I think, you know, he needed to act more like a kid, and he didn't act like a kid. You know, he needed to be somebody stuck at the age of.
Can you imagine
12.
a kid being 50 years old all the time? How does that change it? If you have unlimited powers, unlimited everything.
Yeah,
you do whatever you want. How arrogant would you be?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and they showed parts of it. You know, they showed parts of it, and they just never really dove into that craziness of what Peter Pan is, you know, which is like an arrogant, cocky, somebody who thinks they're going to live forever kind of character, you know, and they missed it a little bit. But a lot of people are not. 16% out of 2,500 reviews. That's probably one of the lowest ones I've seen since. I think that's probably one of the lowest ones since we've been doing reviews.
Yeah, it is.
So, you know, but the audience 67, which is more where I'm maybe somewhere closer to that, maybe a little lower there. But yeah, 18. Whew, boy. Yeah. And then obviously it was on Disney Plus, so there's no box office numbers on it. One last thing though for me was I was kind of upset, especially with Alan Tudyk, was they didn't do the line. They're like, "Poor Nana, poor father." You know, it was like, you know, like that didn't happen, and I was kind of expecting that because for me that's like a memorable line from the first one, you know, because he gets so angry, you know, and he didn't do that in this one. He was just like, "What are we doing? Give me the sticks. Go to bed." It was just like, and that's Alan Tudyk. Like the dude is like, let him kind of be goofy a little bit and over the top and flip over 5 tables and shit, and you know, be mad at the dog. You know, it's like, I don't know. But you guys got anything else before I get some of these comments real quick?
Pretty much it on my end.
Yeah,
I don't like how they wasted Tiger Lily. Didn't explain her place there. I still to this day have no clue why she was there.
Yeah, who she was.
I mean, don't get me wrong, she's cute, so I didn't have a problem with her being there. I just didn't know why she was there. Like, Those are importance.
Yeah, exactly. So Derpy got a few one. So my only complaint for Peter Pan remake is it was made in 1953. The Jungle Book was made in 1967. It should have gotten the Jungle Book treatment in theaters, not Disney Plus. I don't think this would have made any money, man. I don't think it would have made any money. And Derpy said he loved this remake. For someone that loved the original, I actually love this version or vision. Sorry. Yeah, because of the creative changes for the film, which I didn't mind the creative changes of it. I think, but it just lost what it really is, which is, I mean, it's still a kid story. I love Peter Pan and Wendy. There you go. And then the horror geek. The movie was always set to be on Disney Plus, which I remember that. But I think if it was a good movie, they would have like, and let's move it over to theaters. But like if this was coming, like if was it Red, the panda one, the Turning Red. If Turning Red or Encanto was like coming out now, they would be like, all right, no, we're definitely going theaters. But I think they didn't have any faith in this movie. I really don't think so. In 2020, they considered giving a theatrical release, but the pandemic happened. Yeah, so yeah, they still could have, but I think they didn't trust it. That's what I think.
That's a good reason. I mean, I wouldn't trust it either.
Exactly. But yeah, that's about it, man. We just kind of flat. Just it's not boring, but just not what we expected.
Big. I thought it was gonna be a really big, good movie, and it was just my kids were watching it. They were like, "Okay," and when it ended, they just ran off and it went playing. Like it didn't change anything. We didn't have to talk about anything. It was like, "Oh, okay."
turn the channel. Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I think we're gonna leave that one there for the Peter Pan review, Peter Pan and Wendy review. But leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought about it. Are you closer to the critics with the 67%, or are you closer to the audience score of the 18%, or was it 16%, whatever it was, super low? But leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about Peter Pan and Wendy, and then hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button as well. And go back and check out some of our other reviews. We just did a few other scary ones, which was kind of cool. So, but check that out. But we are going to talk about some other stuff. So if you're live, stick around. And if you watched on replay, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next video.